Hey everyone, this is Jenny, and welcome to the very first episode of Tech Arcade News. So here's what we're gonna do. Every day, we bring you the biggest tech news. Instead of just reading you the headlines, we actually go deep. What happened, what it really is, why it matters to you, and my honest take. Alright, 3 stories today, and here's the fun part. They all secretly connected. Let's get into it. First up, TSMC just committed another $100 billion to building chip factories in Arizona. That takes their total U.S. investment to around $265 billion, and 4 new plants making their most advanced 2-nanometer chips. Now, if you never really thought about why these factories are such a huge deal, let me paint the picture. A single one of these chip plants, they call them fabs, cost tens of billions of dollars to build. Inside, the air is cleaner than a hospital operating room, and the machines that actually print the chips use a special kind of light called EUV. Only one company on the whole planet makes those machines. It's a Dutch company called ASML, and each machine costs hundreds of millions of dollars. That's how absurdly hard this is to pull off. And TSMC has been the undisputed king of it ever since a man named Morris Chang founded the company in Taiwan back in 1987. Today, they make around 90% of the world's most advanced chips. Basically, every iPhone, every NVIDIA AI chip, they run through TSMC. So why does it matter? For years, the unspoken deal was that TSMC could build factories overseas, but the newest chips and all the research behind it stay home in Taiwan. Arizona always ran a generation behind, and that gap was Taiwan's whole leverage. There's actually a nickname for this. People call it Taiwan's Silicon Shield. The idea is because the entire world depends on these chips, the world has a reason to keep Taiwan safe. So bringing 2-nanometer, the crown jewels, to Arizona breaks the pattern for the first time. And I'll be real with you. I'm from Taiwan, so this one I feel a little bit more personally. You can read it 2 ways. Either America finally gets the most advanced chips made on its own soil, or Taiwan is slowly handing away the very shield that protects it. My take? Watch the research, not the money. This is really happening because of tariff pressure, with Washington basically saying build here or pay up to sell here. So yes, the money is real, but it's forced money, and forced money has cracks. These Arizona fabs cost more to run than the ones back home, and a deep bench of engineers just isn't there yet. So the day TSMC actually moved this R&D out of Taiwan, that's the day I'll believe this is a real shift. For now, they're buying capacity, and capacity is not the same as control. Keep that in mind because our next story is all about it. Next, we want to go into Kimi K3. So the Chinese AI company Moonshot just stopped taking new subscribers for their model, Kimi K3, because it got too popular. They literally ran out of computing power to keep up with demand. Now let me explain why this is such a flex. Kimi K3 is what it called an open weight model. That means Moonshot didn't just launch a product you rent. They published the actual model for everyone to download, run, and build on for free. That's the opposite of OpenAI or Anthropic, where the model stays locked up and you only get to use it through their service. And Kimi is huge, reportedly a 2.8 trillion parameter model, which would make it the largest open weight model anyone has ever released. So this isn't some small experiment, it's one of the biggest AI models on earth, and they just give it away. And it performs. On July 16, Kimi K3 hit number 1 on Arena's Frontend code leaderboard. That's a benchmark that ranks how well AI models actually build website front ends, scored by real head-to-head matchups. Kimi scored 1679, pushing Anthropic's Claude Fable 5 down to 2nd, and OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Soul into 3rd. Here's the wild part. The previous version of Kimi was ranked 18th on the same board. So they went from 18th to 1st in just one generation, Claude Fable 5. So cheaper, and on this test, even better. So why does this matter? Look at what they had to pause signups. It wasn't that the model's broken, it's that they couldn't get enough chips to serve everyone who showed up. The hard part used to be building a model this smart. Now, the hard part is just having the raw computing power to keep it running. And we've seen a version of this before. About a year and a half ago, a lab called DeepSeek came out of nowhere with a model so good and so cheap that NVIDIA lost around $600 billion of value in just a single day because everyone panicked that China had closed the gap. That panic has mostly settled, and these open models keep getting better. Once everyone can download a world-class model for free, the model itself stops being the valuable thing. The computing power to run it becomes a real prize. And that is exactly what the US has been restricting with its chip export bans. Even Moonshot is reportedly looking to go public, and think about what they need that money for. Not a smarter model, they basically got that. They need chips and electricity. It's the same lesson as TSMC. The software is getting cheap, and the physical stuff is what everyone's really fighting over. Alright, so our last story for today, and it's honestly my favorite one, is a startup called CuspAI. They just raised $450 million to use AI to invent brand new materials. That's their Series B run, and it pushed into a $2.6 billion valuation in just about 9 months. Now, here's why this is a bigger deal than it sounds. Because inventing new materials is one of the slowest, most painful things in all of science. Think about Edison inventing the light bulb. He tested thousands of materials just to find the right filament. The trial and error grind is basically how it's worked for 100 years. A better battery material can take a decade or more to discover. So back in 2023, Google DeepMind tried something wild with a project called NUM. Instead of testing materials one at a time in a lab, they used AI to predict them. And in one shot, NUM generated around 2.2 million possible new materials, about 380,000 of which look stable enough to actually exist. Researchers say it was like compressing nearly 800 years of human discovery into one single project. And that is the idea CuspAI is now turning into a real business. So why does this matter to you? Because the smart money is shifting from AI that writes words to AI that designs real physical stuff. And the backers tell you how serious this is. The run was co-led by Jeff Bezos' fund and the venture firm NEA. The UK government put money in that too. And they're building a coalition called a Materials Foundry with NVIDIA and a bunch of big industrial partners. Every single problem we've talked about, better AI chips, longer-lasting batteries, cleaner energy, they all bottom out as a materials problem. A better material is the hidden key under all of it. So if you can use AI to find those faster, you quietly speed up everything else. Here's a catch I really want you to hold on to. Predicting a material on a computer and actually building it in the real world are two completely different things. None predicting millions of them, but scientists are still working out how many you can genuinely make and how many are actually useful versus just stable on paper. So the hard part isn't predicting anymore. That part's getting easy. It's a loop back to reality, physically making the material, testing it, proving it works. Whoever cracks that step is sitting on something way, way bigger than just another chatbot. So here's the 3 news for today: chips, computing power, and materials. If you zoom out, they all point to the exact same thing. The AI race isn't really about who has the cleverest software anymore. It's about who can build the physical world that AI needs to run on. That's our very first episode of Tech Arcane News. If you enjoy it and you want to keep looking at tech a little bit deeper like this, go ahead and hit subscribe because we're doing this every single day. I'm Jenny. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you tomorrow.